Good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever or whoever you are. Welcome to the IDP 411. We are proudly part of the Expand the Box Score podcast network. And my name is Jordan Rains, aka at 50 Shades of Drunk on Twitter. I am joined with my man, the Dynasty Chef, Steve himself. What are you doing, Steve? How you doing?
I'm doing good, and I'm kind of doing a podcast this morning.
I know, right? We wake up early on Mondays. Monday's my day off of work. So obviously I wake up and do a lot of fantasy football stuff because with two kids and a full-time job and football on 3 days a week, Sunday
hmm
mornings at 5 a.m. are about the only time I can find. So I'm happy to do it, though. Happy to be here. Usually on the show, we go over the studs and duds for the week, the previous week, or Sunday, rather, Thursday and Sunday. Today, well, last week we didn't have a show because, things were just crazy last week, but we're going to do things a little different today. We're going to, we're week 6. We're in week 6. So if your playoffs start in like week 13 or 14, season's half over. We're kind of going to do an audit of how the season's gone so far for IDP players. We're going to talk through the leaderboard basically of some of the stats and some of the guys that are, really been killing it for you this year. Some of the guys that have been, surprises, some of the guys that are not surprises. So I'll go ahead and start that, I guess. We'll go through weeks, 6 weeks, season leaders. All these stats are, have been vetted. I looked at them last night, checked them again this morning. There were some things that changed. Hopefully, none of the data changes again. I know that the stat people and all that, they try to get this stuff up as quickly as they can, but we're trying to get this product out there. So we'll just go ahead and use what we got. So we'll go ahead and start with tackle leaders for the 2019 season so far. We're going to go by position. So we'll go ahead and just start with the linebackers since that's where most people build their fantasy IDP teams around. So no surprise at the very tip top, we got Luke Kuechly, 62 combined tackles so far this season. He's been having a really good year. The Panthers overall have been, they kicked ass yesterday. They pretty much destroyed the Bucks. Kuechly was, a big part of that. A lot of stops on the run. He had an interception that he almost took back. He almost housed it for a touchdown. He's one of those guys that, you just knew coming into the season what you were going to get with him, and you're getting it. We have a couple other guys up there in the tackle department with him. We got Jordan Hicks and Joe Schobert. They both have 62 as well. Both these guys, they've been crushing it. Jordan Hicks, a lot of people thought, he's going to be injured, blah, blah, blah. He's not injured. He's killing it. The Arizona Cardinals are playing a ton of defensive snaps, and he's out there for all of them. Joe Schobert, a guy that's kind of lost in the fray this offseason. I know the Browns drafted a couple of linebackers. That made a lot of people a little less enthusiastic about Joe Schobert. He wasn't really highly ranked, wasn't really reached for in drafts. He's been crushing it. He's got 62 tackles. That's tied for the league. I wrote an article for Dynasty Nerds last week. He was in it. I put him in there as a guy that I thought you could have confidence in this week. He crushed it. Jordan Hicks was in there 2 weeks ago. These guys are just, their floor is high, the ceiling's high, the consistency's there. If you have them on any of your teams, you know the feeling's good. I don't have Hicks, but I've got Schobert and Kuechly on a couple of teams. You got any of them on any of your teams, Steve?
I've got Kuechly and Schobert.
Dude, Kuechly pretty much won me a league yesterday. He scored like 25, 30 points. I was like, hell yeah. But we're going to go ahead and move on down the list. Those are the top 3 tackle leaders at linebacker. You got Bobby Wagner. He has 57. And Devondre Campbell, he also has 57. Blake Martinez has 55, but he plays tonight on Monday Night Football. So there's a good chance that actually through 6 weeks, he will be the tackle leader. All he's got to do is put up 6 tackles and he leads. So that could happen. But right now, as of the time of recording this, he's just, number 6. Lame. No, I'm just kidding. He's awesome. I love him. Corey Littleton, he's got 55 tackles as well. Shaq Thompson coming in at 8, 53. Devin Bush, 9, comes in with 52 tackles. Leighton Vander Esch right behind him, 51. Nick Vigil, 51 tackles. Not a guy we talk about a lot. Not a for whatever reason, the Bengals are just kind of hard to watch, hard to be a part of. But the last 2 weeks, he shot up the board. He's been putting up, I think he put up 14 a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I believe he put up 14 again yesterday. So it's a lot of production here towards the middle of the season. Eric Kendricks, Minnesota Vikings linebacker, guy that's not a sexy name coming into the season. I had him on a dynasty team and I moved him. He's a great linebacker 2, I guess is what I would call him. An excellent linebacker 2, 3. But he's kind of proven himself to be a linebacker 1 this year, especially in coverage. He's kind of always flying in there. He had his hand on the ball yesterday a couple of times, and I thought he was going to have an interception. He might have actually had one. I can't remember exactly. You'll have to forgive me. If you do know that he did or did not, let me know. Looks like he did not have any interceptions, but he did have his hand on the ball a couple times. He has 7 pass deflections on the season, which doesn't lead the league, but it ties him with Corey Littleton for linebackers on the season. So those two have been putting up some very good in coverage, and it was kind of known about Kendricks that he was good in coverage before we came into the season. Littleton as well. He had a ton of pass deflections last year. Those are kind of cheap, easy points in fantasy or an IDP, depending on how your league scores them. If they're just worth 1 point, I mean, a point's a point, but if they're worth 2 or 3 or 4 points, those definitely make up for a week where a guy kind of lacks in the tackle department, shall we say. So he came in at 12. We're gonna run down the top 20 of these guys real fast. KJ Wright, 48 tackles. Thomas Davis, 48 tackles. Zach Cunningham, 46. Rashaan Evans, 45. Looked like he got hurt last night in that game, but he came back out there, so that was good to see. Same thing with Devin Bush. He started off that game last night. He was having a crazy game. I mean, he had a fumble recovery touchdown. He had an interception. He had a fumble, and then he got hurt somehow. I don't remember what happened. He was like grabbed his knee, his leg, and I was so pissed. I was like, dang it. Like, he's done. I was so excited on Twitter. I was freaking out. And he goes down. He missed like a quarter, but he came back out there, finished out the game. I think he had 7 tackles. I think he pretty much was linebacker 1 this week. It's like surprising, but not surprising. He was in my top 3 this last week for my linebacker rankings, and put a little clip on Twitter about that. It's about time we kind of start. Last night was basically his breakout game. Not that he needs it. He's pretty much broken out every time he's played. He's not dipped under double-digit fantasy points, even in leagues that are kind of suppressing the scoring. Dude's a baller. He's young. I haven't updated my dynasty linebacker rankings since probably July, but I think he made the top 20. But when I do update him again, he's 100% going to be a top 5 linebacker for me for dynasty. He's incredible. He's young. He's beasting. He's on a team that seems to be defensive minded at the moment. And guys respect him already. I mean, he's kind of forcing guys' hands on that.
Yep.
Back to the list. Number 17, we had Benardrick McKinney. He had 45. He has 45 tackles. Jalen Smith has 45 tackles. Danny Trevathan and Hassan Reddick all have 45 tackles. Those are your tackle leaders at linebacker for the season. I'll read them off to you one more time real quick. We have Luke Kuechly, Jordan Hicks, Joe Schobert, Bobby Wagner, Devondre Campbell, Blake Martinez, Corey Littleton, Shaq Thompson, Devin Bush, Leighton Vander Esch, Nick Vigil, Eric Kendricks, KJ Wright, Thomas Davis, Zach Cunningham, Rashaan Evans, Benardrick McKinney, Jalen Smith, Danny Trevathan, and Hassan Reddick. So if you have any of those guys on your team, congratulations. If you have any of those guys on your teams as your linebacker, 2, 3, 4, even more congratulations. They're doing you right. So we'll go ahead and slide on down here to the defensive lineman tackle leaders. And again, I'm kind of going over the tackle leaders just because in IDP, tackles are kind of your baseline set of points. Varying from position to position. Sure, they might not come as frequently for defensive linemen, but they're kind of a baseline when the sacks don't fall, when the forced fumbles aren't there, when the game's not going a particular player's way, but they're still on the field. It just kind of gives you an idea of what they're able to produce as a floor. So that's always my number one thing I look at, especially for defensive linemen. I look for guys that are high tackle producers because sacks will come and sacks will go. But if you can actually just stop a guy, or if you're playing to the whistle, you're going to end up with some tackles. So let's go ahead and read down this list. Top of the list, Sam Hubbard, 36. Second is Grady Jarrett, 32. Daniil Hunter, 31. Joey Bosa, 30. Cameron Hayward, 28. Sheldon Richardson, 27. Calais Campbell, 27. Tyler Davidson, 27. Derek Nandi, 26. Matt Ioannidis, 25. Michael Brockers, 25. Cameron Jordan, 23. Shelby Harris, 23. DeForest Buckner, 23. DJ Reader, 22. Stephon Tuitt, 22. Dante Fowler, 21. And then there's a handful of guys with 20. We got BJ Hill, Linval Joseph, Emmanuel Ogba, and Deron Payne. All these guys have 20. So that's a pretty good floor. These are some guys that some of these guys closer down to 20. I mean, we're through week 6. They're only averaging about 3-4 tackles a week. That's not great, but again, that's a decent floor. But as you get kind of higher on this list, guys like Grady Jarrett, Joey Bosa, to have 30 tackles to go with the fact that they have, a few sacks, a few big plays in there. That's really what sets them apart, because I mean, all these guys on this list have a couple of big plays here and there, but what really sets them apart is the guys with the high tackle floors and the guys that are making the big plays for your team. Kind of a bummer, I will say, that Myles Garrett isn't on this list. Actually, I'm looking right now. He has 20, so he's at the very bottom, but he's got 9 sacks. So, he's still a top-level defensive lineman. But if he could tackle on, 5 more tackles in a given week, he would be up there even higher. Obviously, this is a tackle leading list, so duh. But you know what I mean? He would have a little bit better of a floor. He did have a week. I guess last week he kind of didn't have a great week. He had like 1 tackle and 1 sack, so that kind of hurt my team. But he had a good week this week. So those are your tackle leaders at defensive line. I'll read them off again. Sam Hubbard, 36. Grady Jarrett, 32. Daniil Hunter, 31. Joey Bosa, 30. Cameron Hayward, 28. With 27, we have Sheldon Richardson, Calais Campbell, Tyler Davidson. 26, you got Derek Nandi from the Chiefs, defensive tackle. 25, you got Matt Ioannidis and Michael Brockers. 23, you got Cameron Jordan, Shelby Harris, DeForest Buckner. And 22, you got DJ Reader, Stephon Tuitt. Dante Fowler comes in with 21. And then with 20, you got guys like Myles Garrett, Deron Payne, Emmanuel Ogba, Linval Joseph, and BJ Hill. I think it's kind of interesting, just a little side note, that Michael Brockers and Dante Fowler both make this list. Aaron Donald does not. He's worth bringing up. He pretty much doubled his season production yesterday. Before yesterday, he had 13 tackles. He had 7 yesterday's game, so now he's up to, 7 plus 13 is 20. So I guess he'd be right around 20. But he had like 1 sack. He pretty much put up as many fantasy points yesterday as he put up the previous 5 weeks. It was good to see him kind of pick up the board as a guy that, he's having his season's kind of, I don't want to say it's turning around, but he turned it on yesterday. He's hurt your team the past 5 weeks, but it's good to see him not hurt your team. I benched him yesterday personally for Ioannidis and Kenny Clark in a 2D tackle league. I still won. I saw some people complaining they finally benched him and he went off. That's the nature of fantasy football. I don't know if you ever played before, but that's usually what happens. You bench a guy and he goes off. You put him in your lineup. He goes on. I've had to learn that the past few years the hard way, that if you believe in a guy, you just have to leave him in there. And if you don't, take him out. I didn't believe in him. I took him out. I guess some people were the same, and you have to eat that. I've been having that problem with Calvin Ridley this year. I've just been, you got to take the 2s and 3s with the 20s and the 30s, I guess, if that's really what if that's really your strategy. So,
yeah.
I guess we'll slide on down to defensive backs now, tackle leaders for defensive backs. This one's kind of fun. We got, we'll go ahead and just lead off top. The kingpin right now is Landon Collins with 55 tackles. That's awesome.
Linebacker numbers.
Those are linebacker numbers, exactly. I mean, that's no bullshit right there. It helps that the Redskins don't have any linebackers, or none that we've heard of anyway. I mean, there's somebody. There's like a guy out there in a red uniform, like running around. Couldn't tell you who he was or what he was doing. But 55 stops for Landon Collins. The Giants, they got rid of him in the offseason, and he's durable. He's competent, and he's one of the best, defensive back safeties, whatever you want to call him, in the league. And for IDP right now, he's not necessarily leading the pack. I don't know if he has a lot of big plays. Let me take a peek here real quick. He only has 2 passes defended, a forced fumble. He has 1 sack. So, I mean, those are good numbers to go along with 55 tackles. So if you've got Landon Collins, kudos to you. I've got him and this other guy. Second tackle leader is John Johnson. I have them both on a team that I'm getting my ass spanked right now in the league. It kind of sucks. Weird week, a lot of guys went off. So if you had a team that went off, you're kind of facing off against a lot of guys that went off too. So, shout out to everyone out there who's going to lose by a little bit. Don't tilt. I mean, you're welcome to tilt, but I don't recommend it. Don't go trading your team for pennies. Don't go, doing dumb stuff. Just, stay the course, play your guys. We got Eric Weddle as well. So he's coming in at number 3. Him and John Johnson are both tied with 51 tackles on the year. That's legit, and there's a kind of a similar situation to Landon Collins. There's not really much going on in front of them as far as linebackers. Corey Littleton is having a good year, but a lot of guys are seeping through. This Rams defense is just not potent like we thought it would be with, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, Aaron Donald, Corey Littleton, John Johnson, and then Son of Bum back there calling the plays. They're just not stopping people. I mean, they're kind of getting run all over this year. Run all over, thrown all over. Doesn't help that their offense isn't helping them. It's kind of funny. I was sitting there with my son yesterday, and I was just like thinking about how the Rams are playing and they don't have Gurley. I was like, the LA Rams without Todd Gurley is like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich without any peanut butter and without any jelly. I mean, it's just a couple pieces of bread, and you can call it a sandwich if you want, but
bread sandwich.
Yeah, bread sandwich. Not too much for you. So I got
here's some toast that ain't toasted yet.
Yeah, here, eat this. I got nothing else.
Well, they ate something yesterday.
Take it. We'll go ahead and keep sliding down this list. Sean Williams has 49 tackles this year. Antoine Bethea has 46. Both those guys were absolute studs last year for your IDP teams. They're on their way to doing it again. They have been doing it again. Jesse Bates, 43. Justin Reed, 43. Terrell Edmonds, 41. Buda Baker, 41. Jabril Peppers, 40. Ronnie Harrison comes in at 11 and 12. 11 and 12 is Ronnie Harrison and Xavier Woods. Woods. They both have 39. Von Bell has 38. Eric Reed, 37. Tracy Walker has 36. He plays tonight, so expect that number to increase a little.
And jump up that list.
Yeah, we have Traveris Ward, 36, and Jermaine Whitehead, 36.
Actually hoping that number jumps up quite a bit for Tracy Walker so that I can beat a guy at work.
Yeah, he needs some points out of Tracy Walker. Well, he's been pretty consistent, so I think that's a safe bet, safe-ish bet. I
can't lose this. I can't lose this game.
Yeah, it sucks.
It'd be very embarrassing
when you lose the matches that you really, really like, the personal ones, where it's like I need to beat my friend.
Well, I'm 4-1 and he's 1-4, and I'm losing right now by 6 points.
Well, as long as you make the playoffs and win the championship, this is just a little blip on the radar.
Yeah, but still, it's so embarrassing losses that are the worst.
Ooh, shame on you. You suck.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, those are your tackle leaders, guys. Just for the 3 main positions I like to cover. I will say that Von Bell, he's really stepped it up this year. He's been playing kind of his snap percentage was kind of weird the past 2 years. He was always productive, but it seemed like Sean Payton didn't want him to be out on the field a lot. That seems to have changed, and for the better for IDP owners, managers, whatever you want to call us. Seeing Jabril Peppers up there with a reasonable number of tackles is awesome. It's nice to see him out of Cleveland where they were, more or less misusing him. Don't know how else to phrase it. He's out there just able to do what he does, kind of roam around, kind of make tackles. He's missed a lot of tackles too, which is crazy. So if you really think about, I like to do that when I assess a player. Think about not just what they have, but what they should have. Jabril Peppers has probably missed three to five tackles that I can think of. So, he could easily skyrocket up into that, top 5 if he just makes those hits. So if you can go get him, I don't think the owners are going to get rid of him. He had a great week this last week. He had 10 tackles, but he's really proven a lot of people right this year. A lot of people that were like, well, And he was kind of a cheaper draft pick this year too, just because he hasn't put up stellar numbers compared to some guys like Jesse Bates or Justin Reed. Those guys are going higher in drafts than him. But Peppers is young. He's capable. He seems to be staying healthy. And again, their linebacker core there. Ogletree had a good week, I will say that, but their linebacker core there in New York is kind of meh is the best way to describe it. MEH.
Meh.
So if you got Jabril Peppers or Antoine Bethea, which I have both of them, and I've been starting them both. I kind of have a riches in one of my dynasty leagues with safeties. I kind of have a little obsession with them.
I do. Oh man, I'm the same way.
And it's just, it feels good. And every once in a while, I'll say something in the group chat about, this guy's available for trade. And guys are like, you're just trying to gas this guy up to sell him, blah, blah, blah. And I go look at their team and I'm like, yes.
You need him.
You need this. Like, you can laugh it off, but you're 1-4. And, if your only W's are coming in the group chat, bro, I hope you like them.
Good W.
Yeah. Keep it up. Keep it up. That's what I want you to do every week. I want you to win in the group chat.
Yep.
So anyway,
you're doing awesome.
Yep. Keep it up. All right, we'll move on to the sack leaders. We're not going to divide the positions up. Most of these guys are going to be linebacker or defensive linemen. Some of them are going to be outside linebackers. I put something on my Twitter this week about semantics being what's kind of not killing, but it's definitely stifling the growth of IDP. It's kind of annoying, but whatever. That's a conversation.
Definitely got some people out there. Yeah. Yep. They definitely want to.
It's a conversation that needs to be had. Well, it's kind of funny. A lot of people, the vast majority of people that are in consumers, fantasy football players, young people who want to have fun like me, were like, yeah, it needs to be fixed. And then you got a bunch of these, no disrespect, but you got a bunch of these dudes that are like in their 40s. They're like, I've been playing IDP for 10 years and this is the way it should be. And I'm just like, dude, like we obsess about two primary positions on offense. Okay, we start 4 essentially, but we obsess about wide receivers and running backs. You need to start 2 of those. And you want a casual fan to come in here and learn 5 positions where we're starting multiples of them. Like I don't think they understand what the ask is there when you're saying you have to start a safety, you have to start a cornerback, you have to start a D tackle, you have to start a linebacker, and you have to start a defensive lineman. That's just too much, and it's for a side of the ball that we all can agree is secondary. So you're asking people to do more work, to learn more about something. And it's just too many barriers of entry for your casual fan. Your younger guys that are, going to Buffalo Wild Wings and hanging out and watching football. They don't want to sit there and look at, 6 different positions. They don't do that on offense. Why would we force them to do that on defense? And the scoring is so much more flat. It's just, it's really hard to kind of decipher this stuff. So, maybe it's just something that just needs to be fixed. I don't want to get into it right now. It's broken. It needs to be fixed.
We'll make that episode later.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that like the idea of it, but there's also a lot of people out there that are very high and mighty. It reminds me of I was a scene kid growing up. You show up at the scene and it's like, oh, have you heard of this band? Oh yeah. Well, have you heard of this band? Oh, let's go even deeper. I was, with this band. I feel like that's kind of what's happening in IDP, where it's like, well, I play IDP. It's like, oh, well, you only start 1 player. Well, I play IDP. It's like, oh, well, you only start 6. And the guy's like, oh, well, I'm in a 32-team dynasty league where we have to, double copy, and we're starting 32. We're starting 15, defensive players.
I play in leagues where we start 11.
It's like, just stop. Just stop.
I don't know about double copies of any players, but
it's just
that's pretty extreme.
It's not fun. It is fun, I guess. I'm in a couple leagues like that, but those aren't the ones that I'm getting super excited about. Those are the ones I check Tuesday morning when I get on MFL. The ones that I really care about, I'm on Sleeper, I'm on ESPN. We're starting 6 to 10 max IDP players. Let's just make it a little bit more user friendly. So that's kind of my battle cry. That's kind of my stance, and hopefully, as I get a little bit bigger and more well known in the IDP community, the masses or more people will kind of fall into that. We kind of have to, if we want to attract people, if we want this content to reach people's ears, we have to make it worth listening to, and we have to make it something we can all kind of agree on and something we can all talk about. So anyway, we'll go ahead and, like I said, back to the sack leaders. You got some linebackers here. You got some defensive tackles, you got some defensive ends, whatever. I call them defensive linemen. So your tackle or your sack leaders for the year right now are Shaq Barrett and Myles Garrett. They both have 9 sacks. One's a linebacker, one's a defensive end. Both
Interesting to
are.
see Myles Garrett is caught up to Shaq Barrett.
Yeah, Shaq Barrett hasn't had a sack in 2 weeks, so he's kind of slowed down. Both are defensive linemen in my eyes. Both are, edge rushers, whatever you want to call them. Mario Addison then comes in at number 3 with 6.5, which kind of crazy. Kind of overlooked by me personally this offseason.
Yeah. Definitely.
The entire Panthers defense, though, was just, they were crushing yesterday. They were destroying poor Jameis.
Oh, man, it was embarrassing.
It was funny. It was sad. It was also kind of awesome just to know that every time that they came that they were just going to pressure him and something was going to happen.
Oh, man, and people just been saying so much. Oh, yeah, Bruce Arians has got this Jameis looking so great. And
well, man, I will say this. Bruce Arians was the most cool, calm, and collected I think I've ever seen him. That dude he must have taken a couple of Valium on the flight over because, he was just – his face wasn't red. I don't think he made any quick or jerky movements. He was just staring off, and he was just – when Jameis came over, he was just talking to him.
He must have been in shock.
I was like, this is not – this has to be a clone of Bruce Arians. Yeah.
That's just pure shock right there. He was just he saw his quarterback just totally regress, just in one game.
Well, again, in his defense, he was just getting clobbered.
He was taking he saw Jameis taking these awesome steps forward, and he just Jameis right back.
Yeah,
he just went right back to being Jameis again.
This is who I am, Coach. Watch this.
Watch me do what I do. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Throwing interceptions, dropping the ball all over the place.
Yep, drop it here. You guys want? Let's put it down right here.
Here you go.
All right, we got couple of guys with 6 sacks on the season. Clay Matthews, I don't want to say RIP because he should be back, but he broke his jaw last week, didn't play yesterday. He's still one of the sack leaders right now, 6 sacks. Another guy who's a quote-unquote linebacker, Danielle Hunter, 6 sacks. Preston Smith, Whitney Merciless, 5.5 for Preston Smith, 5 for Merciless. Marcus Golden has 5 sacks on the year. Cameron Jordan, Zadarius Smith have 5 sacks on the year. Robert Quinn, this one is really fun to me. He has 5 sacks on the year. That's more than DeMarcus Lawrence. I know he missed the first 2 games, right, with the suspension. Was it the first? I think it was the first 2. I would need to double check that, but to miss a couple of games and be on this list for sacks, pretty impressive stuff. I know most people are probably focusing on DeMarcus Lawrence, but don't really know why. He's not really shown himself to be. I don't know. I think his injury is still bothering him. I don't know how to say it. I don't want to be disrespectful to him or what he's done, but I think his injury is still bothering him. He's not producing the way we expected, anticipated, thought. Definitely not the way he got paid in this offseason. Jamie Collins. Now, this is your first true linebacker, I guess. I don't know. Jamie Collins is. I don't really know what he is. He's a Patriots defensive player, so he kind of just does everything. 4.5 sacks. Khalil Mack, 4.5 sacks. Chandler Jones, 4.5 sacks, and Brian Burns, 4.5 sacks. So those are your sack leaders on the year. As you can tell, those last 3 guys, 4.5, have literally half of the top 2 guys, Shaq Barrett and Myles Garrett, who both have 9. Sacks can come in bunches, so any of these guys could kind of fly up the board, especially Danielle Hunter. I'm surprised he's doesn't have 8 or 9, honestly, especially with Everson Griffin's been coming on strong. He should be freed up a little bit more, so but he still has top 5, and I expect that kind of those top 2 to Shaq Barrett. I think he's going to stay up there just because he started out so strong. Myles Garrett, he's a beast. If you watch him play, he's pretty much unguardable. He's got a decent group of guys there helping him on the line. But Danielle Hunter, I think when we check back in a few weeks, he should be probably up there in the top 3. So then I have for us what I call the big play leaders. I got some forced fumble guys, some fumble recovery guys, some interception guys. These aren't plays you can really count on, but they're still worth looking at, noting who's had what, who's kind of, just making themselves more productive for your IDP team, shall we say. So your forced fumble leaders, I'm just going to go over the top 2 at each position or whatever you want to call it. But there's 3 guys that have 4 forced fumbles. They are Whitney Merciless, Khalil Mack, and Chandler Jones. All, again, outside linebackers. Technically, they should be defensive linemen, in my opinion. Then you've got Shaq Barrett, Trey Flowers, and Vernon Butler. These guys each have 3 forced fumbles. So take that as you will. Those are good extra points. That means they're causing disruption. That means they're at least getting to the quarterback. I know, Chandler Jones has 4.5 sacks and 4 forced fumbles. So, I mean, those are two stats you like. Fumble recoveries. I got Devin Bush on here with 3 and Von Bell with 3, but I'm going to double check. I think Devin Bush might have had another one last night. Just want to make sure that he gets all the shine that he can possibly get.
He deserves it
because he's incredible.
I don't even care that he went to Michigan.
Ooh, there we go. A little homer action. Yeah, he has 4. Devin Bush is actually your leader there with 4 fumble recoveries on the season. Von Bell has 3. And then you have
that one for a touchdown last night.
Yeah, one for a touchdown last night. And then you have a couple of guys with 2, a handful of guys with 2. You got Corey Littleton, J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones, T.J. Watt, Benardrick McKinney, Eric Reed, Rashad Breeland, Ndamukong Suh, DeMarcus Lawrence. There we go. He popped up somewhere. And Ashawn Hand. You guys all have 2 fumble recoveries. So, again, can't really count on these, but if you're on a team that has a little bit of disruption, or you're on like T.J. Watt, he's going to get fumble recoveries. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that Devin Bush and T.J. Watt are both on the leaderboard for fumble recoveries. But that just shows you what this Steelers defense is really doing out there, which is messing people up, screwing around with them, getting to the quarterback. I mean, they collapse the pocket over and over and over. I mean, last night Phillip Rivers, and they played the was it the Giants they played last week, 2 weeks ago? Anyway, the last 2 games they've had, if you watched, I mean, they're getting a ton of sacks, and they're just missing on 3, 4, 5 more. I mean, they're just grabbing them right when the ball's coming out. So there's still some upside with these defensive linemen on the Steelers, and these linebackers on the Steelers. I mean, they're primo. So if you got them, congrats to you. Hats off. You're awesome. Your team's awesome. I wouldn't be selling them personally. And then we got interceptions. Again, these are stats that aren't really necessarily sticky, but they're worth looking at. Devin McCourty leads everyone with 4. Then you got a handful of guys with 3. Janoris Jenkins, Jamie Collins. Interesting. He's, like I said, he's a linebacker, but he's kind of playing he's just kind of doing a lot out there for your team. Kevin Byard, James Bradbury, and Quentin Dunbar each have 3 interceptions on the season. So those are all, again, these are kind of non-sticky stats: fumble recovers, forced fumbles, and interceptions, but they matter for IDP. They are going to get you extra points. Every little bit helps. Jamie Collins and Devin Bush are kind of leading the way at, your kind of conventional linebackers as far as, just racking up meaningful stats outside of tackles. I do want to look real quick here at the pass defended leaders at linebacker, just kind of give people an idea who's kind of performing in coverage. Corey Littleton has 9 pass deflections this year. Eric Kendricks, we brought him up a little earlier. I said 9. 7 for Littleton, 7 for Kendricks. Then Luke Kuechly and Tremaine Edmonds each have 5. Jamie Collins has 4. Hassan Reddick has 4. Jayon Brown has 4. Quan Alexander and Lorenzo Alexander each have 4. Devin Bush has 3. And T.J. Watt has 3. And Preston Smith has 3. So there's actually a bunch of guys that have 3. I won't read off that whole list, but that kind of gives you an idea of the guys that are performing in coverage, knocking the ball out of guys' hands. These guys a couple of them have interceptions. I mean, Jamie Collins has 3 interceptions. Littleton has 1. Kuechly has 1. Bush has 2. So these guys are, again, it's more than just a tackler. You can get just a bread and butter tackle guy. That's kind of what I consider Antoine Bethea for the defensive back area. He's just going to get you tackles. There's not really a lot of other stuff happening there, but it's nice to get these linebackers that, like Kuechly. I mean, he's, your tackle leader at the moment, but he also has 5 pass deflections. So he has the second most pass deflections in the league for a linebacker. So those are, I won't say cheap points, but they're points. So take them, take them.
That list, your list of linebackers, who were guys on there that surprised you?
as far as being tackle leaders,
Yeah.
Nick Vigil surprised me. KJ Wright surprised me. Hassan Reddick with 45 surprised me. I know he kind of started off really slow. I think he missed a couple of games because he got hurt in the offseason. It's interesting to see the tandems, too. You got Kuechly and Shaq Thompson both in there. You've got Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright both in there. You got Jordan Hicks and Hassan Reddick both in there. You got Cunningham and Bernardrick McKinney both in there. It's interesting that, you can rely on more than one guy to be a high-level producer on the team, but, it's really shaken out that way. So that's pretty good to see. Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith as well.
Yeah.
There's another tandem you can count on week in, week out. But like I said, probably surprised me the most, Devondre Campbell and Hassan Reddick. I think those are, and KJ Wright. Those three are probably the ones that surprised me the most.
Okay, let me ask you this. What omissions surprised you the most?
Who's not on the list surprised me.
Exactly.
That's a little bit tougher of a question.
I see a couple names. I don't see a couple of names I thought might have made that.
Alec Ogletree, Darius Leonard, but he's missed time. Roquan Smith, but he missed one.
There's one that I'm still.
Fred Warner, but he's also missed a game. It's kind of weird because some of these guys have had buys and some haven't, so it's not necessarily a fair playing field.
What about Tremaine Edmonds?
I have him on a team, so honestly, I'm not surprised that he's not up there. He's been kind of just okay, the best way to put it, I suppose.
Still coming into the season, wouldn't you have expected him up there?
Oh yeah, definitely, I would have, but what we expect and what actually happens, unfortunately, is not necessarily a perfect marriage. But yeah, he also missed this week too with the the bye week. So, but yeah, I did expect him to be up there a little bit more. But it helps that Milano is, picking up some slack. He doesn't have to do everything himself. And the Bills honestly are really good at stopping drives. So, he's, their overall defensive ability is kind of hurting his IDP productability or productiveness. I don't know if productability is a word. But, he's still a top-tier guy, especially if you're in Dynasty. He's talented. He's very young. I think he's 21, 22. He's top 24 for me.
We're not saying he's a
scrub, but I would, you said, that's a good point to say that, we kind of coming into the year expected a little bit more out of him probably. Roquan Smith,
low target.
Yeah, by low target. Roquan Smith and Fred Warner were guys I was really high on coming into the year that are just kind of there. But again, Roquan missed that week, and then Warner has he's not the only guy anymore. Quan Alexander's back, so that might be cutting into his production up just a little bit. They've also had a bye week, so I think once you throw all these numbers together and adjust for that, they'd both be up a little bit higher.
What about the defensive linemen? Anybody on that list that you might have expected to see on there? I
mean, Robert Quinn, never would have thought he would have been on there, if I'm just being completely honest. As far as a sack leader, I'm assuming we're talking about. I guess we could talk about the tackles, though. Dante Fowler with 21, that kind of surprised me. Brockers with 25, that kind of surprised me. You kind of expect the IDP producers on the Rams to be essentially John Johnson, Corey Littleton, and Aaron Donald, but Aaron Donald hasn't really shown up in the box.
I mean, yeah, he's
in the actual
seriously. He's absent from the list.
Yeah, he's had a lot. He's had some pressures. He's been playing good. There's nothing against him as a player. It's just for IDP, he's been sandbagging your team for weeks now. He finally hit this last week. Everyone who's stuck with him can take their victory lap. Week 6 victory lap. If 1 in 6 weeks is not enough for me to be happy.
Lap.
That's a tough lap. That's a good way to say it. I mean, that's the same victory lap you're taking with Tyreek Hill. I mean, he had a good game yesterday.
Oh, he's been hurt.
Yeah, but I mean, he basically has been putting up the same number of points as Aaron Donald.
Donald's been out there.
Yeah, so I don't know. 1 in 6 weeks is not helping your team necessarily.
You had a reason to have Tyreek Hill on your bench.
Yeah, and that's why I like looking at tackle floor. When a guy's not out there balling out, quote unquote, forced fumble, sacks, disruption, blah blah blah. Is he just hitting dudes that have the ball in their hands? Like, is he doing that? And up until yesterday, Aaron Donald was doing it about twice a game. That's terrible. I mean, there's no way to say that. Hopefully, he picks it up the rest of the season. He had 7 tackles yesterday, which was over 50% of his total production at that point in the season. Let's hope that he can bring that average up to about 5 tackles a game, and then I'll throw him in my lineup every week, no problem.
Yeah.
And as far as defensive backs, really surprised to see Eric Weddle this high. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, he is at least 3rd in the league with tackles at defensive back 51. In those first couple of weeks, he wasn't playing a ton of snaps, so it's good to see, or it's interesting to see, good to see him up there. I don't have many leagues. I've seen him. I hope you've picked him up. Good for you if you have him, I guess is the best way to say it. John Johnson did leave yesterday's game with a shoulder injury. It's worth noting. I'll have to monitor that. I do have him on a couple of teams. So
yeah, me too. Surprises on that list. You said Weddle. Anybody else that surprised you?
I mean, Tracy Walker. I know, like, I drafted him.
People, yeah, we kind of.
There were some people that were on him, some people off of him. The Lions' defense coming into the year was kind of I don't want to say it was like being restructured or changed, but you could definitely tell that Patricio had yet to like kind of put his stamp on that team and kind of make his get some of his guys out there is the best way to say it, I guess. First year, Glover Quinn, that was the guy's name that retired, I believe. So they had a spot that needed to be filled, and he's doing that very well. Tracy Walker is he's getting a lot of playing time. He's being really productive with that playing time. As far as his actual ability as a player, I don't have PFF, so I'm not really sure what his grade is right now compared to some of the other guys, but you have to think he's, doing pretty good. I mean, he's getting the stops. He's probably not missing a lot of tackles. That's definitely something I'm going to try to research this week, and maybe we can go a little bit more in depth on him because he's popped up on this show, more often than not. He's been a stud, which is usually what this show is, our Studs and Duds show. But again, we're kind of just doing an audit of the season so far through 6 weeks, and here he is. Again, top 15, top 16 safety or defensive back, whatever you want to call him. So seeing him on there is it's pretty cool. Yeah, surprise. Eric Reed too, kind of a surprise. But I guess when you're consistently out there, he doesn't put up flashy numbers, but if you're consistently piling up a few tackles a week and your offense can't really, your offense isn't out there a lot, you can get this done. So, but that's about it from me today. I don't really have anything else that's kind of pressing on my mind. We talked about the defensive line guys, mostly, the linebackers, defensive back, tackle leaders. We went over the sack leaders. Aaron Donald.
Nothing else pressing on your mind? You don't want to talk about Kansas City lost again?
Shut up, dude. Oh boy.
Oh man.
Triggered right now.
What is going on?
What is going on is that I'm fucking pissed. That game was so much bullshit. The Houston Texans did not let the Chiefs have the ball, and then the Chiefs had like 2 3 and outs, right? Like the last 2 possessions they had, they did nothing. I was so annoyed, and they were running the ball. It was like 2nd and 8 or something, and they ran the ball, and I was like, what is going on? Like, Andy Reid he's
running the ball.
What are you doing? Like, you have the best quarterback in the league, and he has his best weapon back, and you're handing it off to Darryl or McCoy. It doesn't even matter who you're handing it off to. You're handing it off. Wrong. And you're down. Wrong. Throw the ball. Oh, my gosh, I was so mad. And then Carlos Hyde revenge game. Carlos Hyde's out here just blasting through the line, crushing in the secondary, dragging, 4 and 5 players, for 5 yards a carry. And I mean, I kind of loved it for Carlos Hyde because apparently he was saying something where he didn't get a call from the coaching staff or the manager when he got traded. He got a call. He said a random number called him and said he'd been traded to the Texans. Like,
Like it's some automated number or automated voice. You've been traded.
Yeah, it's not like an intern like using some program online so he doesn't have to talk to them. But for Carlos,
hilarious.
For his sake, and I have him on a couple teams. Not gonna
the NFL automated trade line.
Yeah. All right, just put this guy's name in. You've been traded to the Texans. Oh my gosh! So that was kind of really. I mean, that was really annoying. The even more annoying part about it was I started Will Fuller this week after benching him last week, and he dropped like 3 touchdown passes. He did like almost nothing. But whatever. Again, it's kind of like you got to take the 0s and the 3s with the 30s and 40s. So
yes, you do. Yes, you do, man.
Anyway, the Chiefs will be fine.
Yeah, I know, but they got. Oh man, they got no defense, man.
I know. My heart is breaking.
If you got a monster offense, you can have no defense, it seems.
Yeah. Well, and at least get out there. I mean, Frank Clark has been a total bust for them. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I mean, dude's just okay. I mean, I don't know how else to say this. It's unfortunate reality. Tyrann Mathieu is an energy leader for sure, but I mean, you guys need a competent linebacker. Just one. Just get one competent linebacker. And I think we would honestly be in a lot better shape, but they don't, whatever. And I mean, Jalen Ramsey's apparently on the market. He's kind of a hot topic to bring up right now to get on our team.
Is he really on the market though?
Oh yeah. Well, he is and he isn't. His back, this whole thing where he's not playing because his back hurts is. I mean, is anybody buying that? He's just saying I want to get traded more and more every week. So I would like to see him there, but I don't think he's necessarily even the answer for the team. Again, like we need a solid linebacker who can play in coverage a little bit and who can stop the run. I mean, that's our biggest problem right now is teams can run on us. I mean, even Deshaun Watson, you saw he ran a touchdown from 6 yards out and he made initial contact with whoever the hell that linebacker was at like the 5-yard line. And the dude just like couldn't hold him. Like he grabbed him. And for whatever reason, he's like laying on him sideways, and Deshaun Watson's just dragging him 5 yards and just drops into the end zone. I mean, the dude literally met him at the line of scrimmage, and he just walked right by him. It was ridiculous.
Oh, and did you see Devin White get man, he got planted right into the ground.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey is dudes are like scared to tackle him because I mean that was like
he got his revenge though later in that game.
Yeah, he threw him down. I saw that.
Yeah, he did.
I started Devin White in the league on accident, honestly. I thought I had taken him out. I mean, he got tackles here or there, but nothing. He's been nowhere near as impressive as Devin Bush has been. So I know he's been hurt or whatever, but hopefully he can pick it up and be a good IDP asset. We'll just have to see,
No, but Hargreaves, I was watching that play, that whole touchdowns scenario, and he juked him right out of his freaking out of his freaking boots, and like
juked him out of his boots. He like did a twist on a dude, and then he like dropped him. He like broke like 3 tackles, all of them.
Threw freaking White right onto the ground. Just took him right by his helmet. Threw him onto the ground.
McCaffrey,
it was awesome.
You're just better than everyone, I guess. I don't know. It's funny how the Panthers, 2 years ago, their image, their brand, is this big, flamboyant, strong, rushing black quarterback. And now their like kind of brand is this like super quiet, super chill, intense white dude running back. And it's just funny how like they go from like one to the other. Like talk about like kind of opposites, for your the face of your team. So I think as Cam Newton is maybe coming back or maybe not. I don't know. It's interesting to see the team kind of shift in its identity and who those people were for their identity.
Cam seems broken.
Yeah, and he wasn't, I was watching the Thursday night game, and the quarterback, Daniel Jones, is, on the sideline talking to Eli Manning and all this. And then I'm watching Sunday morning, and I don't even know if Cam was at that game in London. Like, I didn't see him at all. And I thought that was kind of weird. Same thing with Pittsburgh. I didn't see Big Ben anywhere during that game on the sidelines. And I'm like, aren't these guys like on the sideline with headsets like helping? But I didn't see them. So I don't know. I don't know if that was intentional by the broadcasters to not show them or if they weren't really there. I have no clue.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Pittsburgh won with their
third string.
Third string. I mean, who is this guy?
Pittsburgh's all right. I'm Pittsburgh Chiefs. Those are my teams. I'm happy to see Pittsburgh kind of standing up on defense, and James Conner showed up last night, so that was
Yeah,
good.
he did.
So anyway, that's pretty much all I got for IDP, the IDP 411 today. You got any last comments before we ship off?
No, I got out what I wanted to say. I had about Kansas
Yeah,
City, and then Devin.
it.
I wanted to make that Devin White comment about him getting planted into the ground yesterday. That was pretty entertaining.
Well, the Chiefs will live on to fight another day.
They will definitely.
Appreciate everybody who's out there listening to us, tuning in. We do this for you guys, not just for our personal gratification, but we have some audience.
Noticed here we're actually a little live right now.
Ooh, nice, even better. But we appreciate you guys. We appreciate Expand the Box Score. We miss Jared. He's not here today. The word on the street is he will be back. He'll be back. I don't know if the Terminator commercial they were playing yesterday looks pretty dope.
Oh yeah, I want to see it. I love Terminator movies, even if they're the crappy ones.
But your mic sounds like it's muted. I can't hear you right now.
No, I'm good. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I guess we'll go.
I was saying I like all the Terminator movies, even the crappy ones.
Great franchise, and it lasted the test of time. So
yep.
But from all of us here at the IDP 411, we appreciate you guys. We hope you find our information, useful and helpful for your team. And we'll be back next week with some more studs and duds for you. And until then, manage those rosters right and go win tonight if you need to win. See you next week.
All right, see you, Jordan.